What's going on, guys? This is Josh
And James.
of the MMA Complex, back with a brand new episode. It's November 10th, 2017. Glad to be here. What's going on, man?
What's going on, man? And, I'm excited to talk about some fights over the
Right?
weekend.
A lot of good fights over the weekend.
Yeah.
A lot of news happened. We're going to get into it right away. 217 was last weekend. All three titles changed hands. Crazy night. Crazy night. That was like one of the most exciting UFC events I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, same here.
Which one surprised you the most in terms of who changed, what title changing hands? Which one surprised you?
The Ioana and Jake Check and Rose Namajunas fight.
That was
for sure.
For sure.
Just considering where Ioana's coming from, she's defended that title 5 times before that fight. She looked so dominant in all the fights, and Rose, although she looked good, she didn't look as good as Ioana leading up to that fight. So I thought for sure that Ioana was going to run through her, but that wasn't the case, man.
Not the case, man. It was that fight surprised me a lot. I mean, I don't think anybody expected her to come out like that. The fact that Joanna didn't even land one punch.
Yeah.
That was just like one of the biggest things, biggest shockers of the night. You could factor in a lot of reasons why, but put all that aside, Rose
did it.
Rose looked good. She
Yeah.
she came out, footwork, combinations. I mean, she looked great, man. And I mean, she made it look easy against Joanna, and nobody has made it look as easy against Joanna like that. No, we're not even close.
Yeah, and out of the pre-fight tactics that Joanna was doing, they didn't phase her one bit.
No, not
And
even.
usually, Joanna's opponents kind of break down mentally coming to
Yeah.
that cage. But I mean, Rose was prepared for everything, and it showed leading up that 5 week leading up to the fight. She seemed unscarred by everything that Joanna had thrown at her.
Would you give her? Would you out of? Okay, well, okay. We'll get to that question now. But would you give Joanna an immediate title shot? I think out of all of them, I think
She deserves
I'd
the
probably
most.
give her the most.
Yeah,
give her the.
she's a dominant champion,
hmm
and they've given other dominant champions a chance to regain their belt. So why not Joanna?
Yeah, why not Joanna? I think out of all of them, she's the one the most deserving. She's defended it almost as many times as Rousey. She's going to tie the record with Rousey for this one.
Yeah. I mean, look at Ronda when she lost her belt. She got a immediate title rematch.
Yeah.
You look at Anderson Silva when he lost his fight against
Yeah.
Chris Weidman. He got it. He got one too.
Yeah.
Jose Aldo got one too.
Yeah.
Soon as Jose got all his fights are title fights.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's a good chance that he might get another one too.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, there's rumbling, some talks regarding that with Holloway. But I would say that goes to show you how awesome Rousey was. I know a lot of people like to knock her in terms of the level of competition she's fought, but I mean, she was a dominant fighter for a long time, for several years, outside of the UFC and in the UFC. And I think, a lot of those girls are still fighting today, and then a lot of them are, obviously the top ones have retired. So, I think people don't give her enough credit. And I think the fact that Joanna was trying to break that, or at least tie that record, shows you how dominant Rousey was, at least in her time period before she ended up, eventually the game caught up to her.
Yeah, I think a lot of knocking goes with the way how she was as
How
a
she
person,
promoted herself, yeah.
and the fact that she didn't want to talk to any media. Her last couple fights, I think people are kind of ranking on that aspect. But I think most people who are kind of biased kind of look at her career as a whole, and I mean, she was the first. She's the reason why we have women's MMA today.
Yeah, definitely.
Like in the UFC, so you need to give props where props are due.
I think so too. And you had the one I think I had the most reaction for was the GSP fight. That one, the fact that he did it, the way he did it, I think I thought was just amazing. And I heard in the bar that I was at, everybody chanting GSP, and I haven't heard that in 4 years. Like,
yeah, it was a bit surreal seeing him even in the cage fighting.
Yeah,
against Michael Bisping.
It was
crazy.
It was.
I had to blink twice, but yeah, I mean, he showed, and I hate to use this term, but he showed a heart of a champion, man. He
did.
He went through adversity, and I think that's why people will
got bloodied up.
Give him more credit, because anybody else would have quit, but he didn't. I thought he looked tired, but he pushed through it, and he finished. He did something what a lot of people can't do, is finish Michael Bisping, because Michael Bisping's He's hard to finish, and he put him to sleep.
He put him to sleep. Yeah.
And then he won. He's obviously the fourth man in UFC history to carry belts in two different weight classes.
Yeah.
BJ Penn, Randy Couture, Conor McGregor are the other three. So
it's crazy to think that it's only those four that have done something like this. Yeah. And even more credit to like Conor. I mean, the fact that he's done it at the same time, held both at the same time, even though I would say he's, in terms of title defenses, he's far behind the others.
Yeah. But he beat Eddie Alvarez for that title.
Yeah, he beat him. But I mean, I think people could say the same thing about Michael Bisping and be like, "Yeah, it's Bisping." People. Yeah, people can pick apart Bisping.
I think Bisping is a tougher fighter than Eddie Alvarez. A harder fight.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. And especially he's so tough to put away. Yeah.
Eddie Alvarez is he's a standing target. Like he's very flat footed and he doesn't move well and he does the same stuff all the time.
Yeah, he gets hit a lot. He gets hit a lot, and especially over the past couple of years, he's taken a lot more damage than he normally has been in previous years.
I've grown to dislike him a lot, and I can't wait to.
I would say, it's not that I see him as a bad person. It's not. He seems like a good guy, and obviously a very talented veteran fighter. But it's like something. I don't know why he doesn't. He's not likable in a lot of ways. I don't know why.
Yeah, and then on this new season, Ultimate Fighter, he looks like a complete douchebag.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch Ultimate Fighter. I'm watching this season because there's a
lot of girls that we know.
Prize.
Yeah, there's a lot of girls.
Prize at the end of the tunnel. There's a belt in stake.
Yeah,
it's good.
And a lot of fighters that we've known and interviewed and Invicta girls. A lot of Invicta girls.
Last week was one of the best fights I've seen.
Yeah.
In Tough House history, one of the best knockouts was last week.
And Roxanne's doing very well. She's like the favorite, right?
Yeah, she finished her opponent. It was the quarterfinals last week. She won via elbow strikes. Yeah. And then this is the other girl.
There's a head kick.
Oh
right?
My god! Yeah, the head kick was, Jesus Christ, it was amazing.
Yeah. I saw that. I saw the highlights for that. But I mean, that's I don't know. It's a lot of things you can pick apart from Ultimate Fighter, but
yeah, it's hard to watch. I fast forward all the BS and just go. Watch the fights.
Yeah,
because I mean, it's always the same thing,
Yeah,
someone has trouble at the gym, and I'm done with that.
Yeah. So who would you like to see GSP fight next? Because I think there's Whitaker, Woodley, and Conor are the top 3 candidates.
I mean, Conor,
yeah.
As a fan, just because how the magnitude of that fight would be, and the lead-up wouldn't be interesting because GSP doesn't really talk trash. But just to see those two guys in the cage together would be crazy.
That'd be crazy.
But that's a bad fight for Conor. I mean, I want to see him fight Whitaker, unify the belts, and if he ends up winning, then go down to 170 fight Tyron.
I think in terms of if there was a size discrepancy between Bisping and GSP, I think GSP is gonna look like a giant. I think, just size, body wise, body mass.
He's a smaller of the middleweights.
Yeah,
the top 5 guys. In the division.
And then the conditioning is going to be a huge factor. I don't even want to see that fight because obviously I don't even know if I don't even know if the public's ready for another big giant Conor McGregor fight, like mega fight. I don't even know if people are ready for that. They're just coming off of the Mayweather one. Yeah. So I would like to see that. But I think the fight I want to see him probably against Whitaker.
Yeah, that's the fight you make.
Because he's a champion of middleweight right now. I would hate to see him just.
It's part of the contract too. He has to defend that title.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they could probably opt out of it somehow, work something else out.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, contracts in the UFC are kind of like pinky swears.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then if they'd be like, "Oh, well, we can make money here with this fight," okay, fine, vacate the title.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. But I think the one with Whitaker, I think I would hate to see him. I think legacy-wise, he won the title middleweight, beat Michael Bisping. I think if he defends it, I think it'll even further cement him as the best of all time, or one of the best of all time, whichever you want to look at it. I think he needs to defend this middleweight title against Whitaker, win or lose. Hopefully for his for his legacy's sake, he wins the fight. But I don't know. I think that's a fight to make.
I mean, in a way, him losing the bout will be the best for the middleweight division.
I think so too. Yeah, yeah.
Because then
Because he
people
has
won't
1 foot
consider
out
you.
already.
Yeah, people won't consider you to be the best. I mean, the actual middleweight champion, if GSP wins the defense title and then vacates it, and
Yeah.
goes to 170.
But I mean, if he does, let's say he beats Whitaker, which is probably the toughest matchup in the whole division.
Yeah.
Then I think, beats Bisping for the title after 4 years, defeats the young, hungry interim champ. I mean, I would say he at least made it a pretty dominant mark on the middleweight division, even though he didn't fight Yo Romero,
Yeah.
Luke Rockhold, Chris Weidman, the other killers of that division. I think if you were to just beat those two guys and then leave, I think people will still respect him. I think he needs to at that division he needs to fight somebody else.
Yeah, he needs to defend that. And then I think for Bisping, I think Yo Romero will be the obvious matchup. Just
I think
because
so.
there's heat.
There's so much
there.
heat. That's a big fight right there.
Yeah, this is that.
Yeah.
Put that under like a big title fight, and you got a lot of pay-per-view buys.
Yeah, yeah. That'll be a co-main event. Well, that could even be a main event. Honestly, I think people will see it.
Yeah, but I mean, it'd be better if you put it under like right before a title fight, a big title fight.
Yeah, yeah. That's gonna be a good one.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one. I want to see that one next.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't even mind seeing the Rockhold and Weidman rematch. I think Rockhold Weidman rematch, and then you have Bisping Romero, and then Whitaker GSP. Those are like those three matchups.
It'll be a middleweight pay-per-view.
Like maybe not on the same card, but at least somewhere around the same time,
Yeah.
so we could get some type of matchups afterwards.
That's true.
But that's a good one right there. What's going on, guys? So, obviously James isn't here anymore. He had to step away. We also had some things we needed to adjust on their equipment. So, all for timing reasons, he had to step out. But it's just me right now. It's just me finishing up the show. Today, this show is one of the shows that we just wanted to get out. It was 217 was such a big event that we needed to touch on it. We needed to talk about it. We needed to discuss it in some way. Obviously, with our lives, our daily lives, we got a lot of things going on. So, all in all, timing wise, we try to make it work every week for you guys. But this week it was pretty tight. But we wanted to get something out. So he had to step out. It's just me for the next few minutes, and I honestly just wanted to go over the big fights for this weekend. A lot of good fights. One just happened over this past morning in Manila. You had One Championship 64, which was a great event. You had Martin Nguyen versus Edward Furlong. It was a super fight, champion versus champion, lightweight versus featherweight, and I believe Martin's a featherweight. So the title was up for grabs, and it was a big fight. And props to Martin for pulling out the win. He got the second round knockout. That was over in Manila. That was this morning, U.S. time, Pacific time. I would say it is probably around 3 o'clock in the morning where the prelim started. So it was an early morning fight. Not a lot of you, I'm sure, caught it over here in the States. But, if you guys are the hardcores, I'm sure a lot of you guys caught some of it, or at least the main events. And you can always look online to catch some of the highlights. Bellator 187 is also this weekend. AJ McKee versus Brian Moore. Great fight right there. Great card. You had Charlie Ward and John Redmond. Now that fight, honestly, I'm sure you guys at this point have seen some of the highlights from that fight. Charlie Ward won his fight. Conor McGregor goes into the octagon, it just goes off on Mark Goddard, the ref, after he was celebrating the win, Charlie Ward's win. Jumped the cage, ran to Charlie, gave him a hug. They fell to the floor. Mark Goddard pulled him apart, and then kind of gave Conor a push at the end. It was a slight push, but Conor went off and was like, people had to hold Conor back, And when Connor kind of got into Mark Goddard's face, no fists were thrown, no blows were exchanged, but it was one of those tense, unusual moments in MMA in general, and let alone a Conor McGregor situation. Now the card's still going on. It's an early afternoon card over in Dublin. It's on tape delay. It's gonna be shown later on tonight. Um, but you have Sinead Kavanaugh, Maria Casanova. You have Kevin Ferguson Jr., Baby Slice versus Fred Freeman for the at a catch weight 165-pound bout, and you have Adrian McKee versus Brian Moore in the main event. Um, Now, in terms of this matchup, uh, I know James had some picks off the top of my head. I don't remember what they were now. Adrian McKee and Brian Moore. This is a good fight, good card. I'd probably go with Brian Moore on this one to pull off the win. Adrian McKee is a tough guy, one of the rising stars in Bellator, and so is Brian Moore, though. Brian Moore is a talented individual, and I see him possibly pulling off the win. Now, if AJ were to win, I wouldn't be surprised. Then you have LFA 27 this weekend. That's also tonight. So LFA tonight, Bellator 187 tonight, and then you had one championship early this morning. But this Saturday is the big fight. UFC Fight Night 120. You have Dustin Poirier versus Anthony Pettis. Um, great card. Great card overall. You have a lot of big names on this card. I know James is very excited for this one. You have Court McGee on here. You have Angela Hill. You have Sage Northcutt. You have Tatiana Suarez. You have John Dodson and Marlon Moraes in the main event of the prelims. Now, if I remember James's his pick for this fight, I think we both went with John Dodson in terms of getting the pulling off the win. Obviously, Marlon Moraes is a tough individual. Very talented, World Series of Fighting champion, and obviously everybody knows John Dodson's skill set. And I think that his speed, I don't know if Marlon has faced anybody like this, and I think we both kind of agree that Johnson would probably pull off the win just based on his speed and his punching power. And I don't know if Marlon Moraes would be able to even keep up with someone like him, even though he's a very talented individual. So we're probably going to go with John Dodson in the main event of the prelims. Yeah, Clay Guida, Joe Lozon. I think we were both going with Joe Lozon to pull off the win. Obviously, Clay Guida is very talented. Both veterans of the sport. They've been around for so long. They obviously look still the same. They look so young still. But you're looking at two guys that are, they're mid-level fighters now, and they were at once top of the division, but not so much anymore. Joe Lozon was a young, hungry kid. Not so much. He's a veteran now. But we're probably going to go with him in terms of being the main event, at least the winner for this event, for this fight. Rafael Sunsao, Matthew Lopez. Matthew Lopez, relatively, not very well known with the casuals, even with the general public. But in terms of hardcores, you're familiar with Matthew Lopez. 10-1, very talented individual, very strong wrestling background. But Sensel might be too much for him too soon. Sensel 25-5, top of the division, former number one contender. This is just very talented individual and very well rounded. But you never know. Matthew Lopez might pull off the upset win. In terms of betting lines, Sensel is a heavy favorite. Then you have Cesar Ferreira against Nate Marquardt. Now this is an interesting fight. I think James is going with Nate Marquardt on this one. I'm gonna go with Cesar Ferreira to pull off the win. Cesar is a very talented individual. I think even though he's still somewhat up and coming, Nate Marquardt is one of those guys that is a hit or miss at this point. And I think Cesar that evens out the playing field for Cesar. Early in his career, Nate Marquardt, but at this point, Cesar could easily capitalize on a victory. Junior Albini versus Andrei Arlovsky. Andre is another one, hit or miss. Albini, relatively unknown, even to me and James. We don't know much about Albini. I haven't seen too much of him. He's 14-2, big guy, relatively unknown. Facing a veteran like Andrei Arlovsky, who has been, recently has been on the downhill. You probably have to go. This is another fight that's fairly on an even playing field in terms of veteran versus up and coming fighter. So I would probably easily. I'd probably go with Albini on this one to pull off the win. Matt Brown versus Diego Sanchez. This is another interesting one. Matt Brown used to be was on a roll for a long time, top of the division. Not so much anymore. The guy's struggling as of late. I think the game's kind of catching up to him. I think time's catching up to him. Diego Sanchez is still hanging in there, veteran. But I'd probably go with Matt Brown on this one. I think he's the well-rounded guy. Obviously, Diego's intense. He's very tough to deal with, even at these in these days. But Matt Brown definitely is one of those guys where I would say has what it takes to kind of, weather the storm from Diego and just, put him where he wants him and pull off the win. So I'm going to probably go with Matt Brown in the co-main event. Dustin Poirier, Anthony Pettis. This is a toss-up. I think we're both going with Anthony Pettis to pull off the win. But honestly, this could go either way. They're both very talented, very well-rounded, very similar in terms of their attacking styles, their defensive styles. Obviously Anthony Pettis isn't, he's a little bit more flashy, but these days he doesn't do a whole lot of flash, So I'm still going to go with Anthony Pettis on this one and to pull off the win. So Anthony Pettis in the main card, the main event, UFC Fight Night 21. That's tomorrow. That's from Virginia. Good card overall. Great night of fights. Just want to let you guys know to go to themmacomplex.com. Get everything the MMA Complex. It is t-shirts, past episodes, YouTube videos. I mean, you name it, everything's there. Check that out. And follow us on social media. MMA Complex James, MMA Complex Josh on Twitter. And then the MMA Complex everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. We're on there. Tumblr. So everything. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Next week we'll be back with a brand new episode. A full episode. Some guests. But this one we just wanted to get out. And thank you guys for listening. And see you soon.